A promise in the desert. A wild crescendo breaks the silence of a night desert life. An increasing sandstorm heads towards where we were camping a night before the desert safari the next day. It's part of the 3 days and 3 nights paid trip to Morocco, Turkey. The place from where we left is the Riyadh Nasa Hotel. Earlier, we were told by one of the official guide to be downstairs by 5 p.m., near the lobby from where we would be escorted thereafter. It's our first time together in 3 years as my fiance and I work in two separate worlds, divided by political and geographical borders. These borders have piled up a social wall between us for so long, and I've been delaying our future plans to be together. She is employed with the Red Cross as a full-time pediatric surgeon in Zurich, Switzerland, and I work as Chief Knowledge Officer at NASA's Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Due to our demanding professions, working out a week off is a great achievement in terms of keeping our relationships going somewhere, at least, rather than hanging it on clips of false promises I have made to her since we met on that flight to Florida. Once a pure night sky with strings of heavenly bodies attached to nothing but gravity, around the earth is now enveloped by clouds of murky red sand dust. Even the greatest of all, the moon is under cover and its borrowed light is shyly exhibited. And now she wears a dark, gloomy maroon dress, almost like a ghost on a starless night. The storm is new to us, but is no stranger to a lonely and arid desert as this. Our tour guide and the drivers seem less bothered at the accumulating fury of Mother Nature, but soon they realize that the massive storm can put us in danger and can prove to be a potential serial killer. We are immediately shifted from our temporary and feeble tents to a much protected SUV. The first quanta of sand powered by strong ruthless wind traveling more than 136 miles per hour strikes our hiding place and we are shaken like water in glass in the hands of a careless child. "Blake, I am scared," comes the sweet voice of my love and fiancé. But at the moment the sweetness is mixed with anxiety and fear. I gather words of encouragement in spite of me personally standing between crisis and optimism. "Everything will be fine, honey. It's only a matter of time. We would get over this playful rushing wind real soon. I promise." She seems a bit relaxed as I told her about it, and I held her hand tight enough to make her feel at ease. Before I could further console her with my falsely fabricated words and a touch of comfort, we are tossed. Like a coin before captains of two cricket teams decide who would bat first. Seems like the nature is playing the same game with us, only the format of the sport is life-threatening. We are turned upside down and I can see deep gushing wound created on the temple of our tour guide. As a result of him being in a hurry and missing out to put on his seat belt intact, this happened. I'm horrified and panic-stricken, but Emma knew exactly what to do in such a situation. She undoes her seat belt and reaches out for the first aid kit which had drifted from its original place. As she nurses the man in severe agony, she realizes that he has lost great amount of blood already, and it would be advisable to take him to the nearest hospital, where he may be given a better immediate attention. The last time the GPS showed us to be 125 miles away from the nearest help. We didn't check our current location thereafter. And now we are unable to get connected to any sort of network. The stars used as guides to get to a desired direction, especially during ancient past when internet facilities such as Google Map was just a mere fantasy. These stars are invisible, as if they never existed. Somebody needs to take a risk of a lifetime and be vulnerable prey to a mighty brutal desert horror. Our driver, Mr. Hussein, volunteers to get off the Land Cruiser and look out for signal on his phone and then call for rescue. I give him one of our phones as well in case if he gets signal on that one. Though he is face to feet covered with his clothing, except his eyes, I can clearly read unspoken words by observing his 52 years old brown, compassionate and fatherly eyes. It says, I hope to see you all again, and if I don't ever make it, tell our dear ones I always loved them. Earlier, just before getting into the SUV and heading here, we had met Mr. Hussein's caring wife and his beautiful 16 years old daughter. I can remember them waving their hands, and the second time they took the shorter route downhill to give us a pleasant surprise. They said goodbye twice. As of now, a husband and a father has buried and tamed fear under his iron heart to save a dying man and our lives. I'm sure he has been through perilous road of life and death scenario before. He pushes himself towards the driver's door and forcibly opens it rather hesitantly. On that process, millions of undesired particles enter our only sheltered, like someone is trying to sand spray on us. Nevertheless, the real motive is to get out of here, so the sand on our faces and hands is not a big deal. Presently, only 3 of us are shielded inside this car, protected but not exactly the safest place to be. The vehicle, being an obstruction on the path of the sandstorm, is slowly being covered by the swirling dust, and as a result, we are being buried alive. We are left with the best and the only choice: to stay right where we are and wait for help. It's 3:21 a.m. and more than 6 hours since our driver ventured out into the desert and hasn't showed up. More than one wild thoughts run through my head. I imagine that Mr. Hussein could be miserably stuck in the sand or could have been fallen somewhere in the midst of the desert. But I altered my pessimistic mental picture and replaced it with a ray of hope and faith that he would surely come back along with help and rescue. That's all I could think of. I look at my watch and it's about 6 a.m. It's morning, but we are dependent on the artificial fading lights emitted from the SUV's inner corners. They are fading eventually. It's getting very suffocating in here as well. As per my estimation, I know that more than an hour's wait would be fatal. On the other hand, George, the tour guide, his bleeding has stopped. That's a good news. George, that's only his English name. His real name, as he says, is Anwar, which may be translated as Ray of Hope. He is weak and yet manages to smile, just like his name suggests. His smile is a burning candle in the wind, or light when darkness is trying to overshadow our hopes. But hope seems to be a little far away. We are totally under the sand and the car doors are fearfully jammed. Tears roll down Emma's cheek and they are of sheer sorrow. not of fear, which I am to be blamed for. And this was my plan. But she doesn't say a word. In trying to keep my promise, I've made things worse. This is not how it should end. We have just begun. This love story should not end this way. I just came to realize that I can't buy her expensive platinum ring or a holiday tour like this one to keep her happy and going. I can't delay it anymore. It's more than that. After a moment's silence, I make a real life decision and commitment to her. Emma. Yeah? Emma, if we get out of here, I'm leaving my job and coming with you to Zurich, and we are getting married. Seems like those words were the golden words and the exact key to heaven's locked door. Suddenly, we hear someone shovel, and the thrust of an uneven sound like deformed heartbeats get louder. We know at once the rescue has arrived. The blinding light of sun rays overpowers the smaller light, and we are more than thrilled. We are thankful, we are grateful. We are pulled out cautiously one by one, me being the last one out. But it doesn't matter as long as I know we have made it. I smile at myself and think back at the things that just happened. And Emma, still a bit oriented but on the safe ground, holding my hand, says with a confident blush, "So, sweetheart, we are getting married, right?" And we burst into a pure laughter under the never-ending blue sky.